Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Yes, it's the Skeptic Zone podcast, episode number 810 for the 14th of April 2024. Richard Saunders coming to you from Sydney, Australia, the Skeptic Zone studios. And this week we're travelling to Los Angeles with our reporter Adrienne Hill, who attended the Los Angeles Skepticamp. And she's going to be speaking to the organisers and guests and some speakers about how important it is important to hold a Skepticamp, to socialise, to get together, to hear other skeptics, to hear other points of view. You can count on Adrienne at the Los Angeles Skepticamp held recently. Following that, it's the book of Tim from Skeptics in the Pub. Sydney Skeptics in the Pub. Tim and I talk about the upcoming Australian Skeptics Convention. And that sounds like a great lineup so far. Find out more with the book of Tim, followed by the Australian Skeptics Newsletter, written by Tim and read by Adrienne Hill. Lots of Tim and Adrienne in this week's episode. Then to round off the show, we dive back into the Trove archives, and I look for some references to the Australian Skeptics in the archives and find some very interesting reports. Indeed, going back many decades. But now it's time for me to run downstairs and have a leftover sausage from yesterday's little barbecue. And while I'm doing that, I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone. You can count on Adrienne with Adrienne Hill.
Hello, everyone. This is Adrienne Hill from Skookum Studios. Actually, not from Skookum Studios. I am right now in Los Angeles, California.
She's recording it. Bye.
I have with me the organizers of the Los Angeles Skepticamp, correct?
It's Skepticamp LA 2024.
And who am I speaking to?
The one and only Wendy Hughes.
Exactly, the one and only Wendy Hughes. And how did you enjoy the fruits of your labors?
We rocked. It was a blast.
And was it hard to organize? How much lead time did you have?
I probably had 75 years of lead time. But the organization of this particular event, I think we gave it a month.
Yeah, but it came together, and it came together beautifully.
And it was easy.
What was your favorite moment?
Seeing old friends. It was a huge gym-like room. We had no clue how many people were going to show up. But I did some advertising because the room ultimately was full of people we knew and loved.
Exactly. And there were a lot of people that I knew or had met before, but there were also some new faces, people that I've met on Facebook and people who I've never heard of before. And they were all amazing to meet.
All amazing.
Yeah.
Very nice people, familiar and comfortable,
Yes.
and all on the same page.
Exactly.
And there were a few people I had never met before too. But I know that sensation, like going to a conference and there are people you've seen and interacted with for years on Facebook or whatever, and just you know their reputation, you've chatted, then you meet them and it's like an old friend, but something new is added.
Exactly.
Susan Gerbic is an inspiration. She kind of kept us going and got us started, actually. But the rest of it, it was myself, Heather Henderson, my best girlfriend, our friend, Paula.
Thank you, Wendy.
Mwah.
And next here I have Heather Henderson, who not only was an organizer, but gave an excellent talk yesterday.
Thank you. My main job was moral support. I talked Wendy off ledges.
That's an important job.
Made sure everybody could communicate and understand each other. They did the heavy lifting, but I helped. I helped keep it together.
Yeah, and you were there also with setup and
Yes.
takedown. Those
Yes.
are big parts of it. And you spoke.
Yes.
And can you describe briefly what you spoke about?
I talked about SSI, which is Supplemental Security Income, and my experiences with it and how I found that it was really a poverty trap for anyone who needed the help. And it was very difficult to apply for it, get it, and also remain in it. So that was what my talk was about.
Yeah, it was fascinating. And I think very sobering. We had a lot of laughter with the previous talks. And
right.
Everything was very, I guess, serious.
I had just laid the facts out, and there were a lot. And I was like, these are the facts, A, B, C, this is it. You can go.
Yeah. Very important information.
Yes.
What was your favorite part, Heather?
My favorite part of this Skepticamp is that we're all women and we're all powerful and we all got together and made it happen on our own.
Exactly. And the skeptical movement, I think, is kind of known as being male dominated.
Yes. And here we are and we're all together and we're doing it and we're having fun, and it's also a learning thing. So I'm really proud of everybody who came and helped out.
Well said, and it's a very important point. Another organizer here is
Paula Lauterbach.
Nice to see you in person again. We've only met a few times. What was your role?
Well, it was mainly to start on the ground running because this was a lot quicker than I thought it was going to be to put it all together. But I know how to make, simple websites and get domain names. So we got that right away. So we had a place for people to go and check out what it was, learn what a Skepticamp actually is, and also see when the date was. And then we would add speakers as we got them.
I thought it was an excellent website. Very easy to navigate and lots of good information on it, including me.
Well, you had the best information, that's for sure.
Do you have a favorite moment?
I was just kind of stressed a little bit because I was helping to organize the final speaker, and she is elderly and it's hard for her to get around, so I had to make sure that she could get in. So unfortunately, I missed the magician, which I'm kind of sad about because I was outside.
Oh, he was amazing.
Yeah, he was.
Well, thanks for telling me. That might have been my favorite part.
He was.
But I was really glad that I was able to bring the speaker I had because she was a great finish to the Skepticamp.
Can you describe this last speaker?
Her name's Tori Chrisman, and she's an outspoken detractor of Scientology because she escaped in 2000, so that's 24 years ago now. She's been out a long time, but she is still a great speaker, even though that she was really damaged by that cult.
No, I thought she was a great way to finish the day. She was a very compelling storyteller. Mm-hmm. She was funny. It was sad. It had all the emotions, I think, in it. And lots of really great questions from the people.
I concur. And she's getting a lot of notice again because there's a new group of people that are protesting Scientology actively all around the world. It started in Hollywood, but then Clearwater and everywhere. And so there's a lot of new people in that weren't familiar with her before, and they've helped her get online. She's never done live streams before. She's doing them every day now. So a lot of more people are hearing her message that didn't know about her before.
Which is an important one. And being in LA, everywhere we go, there's Scientology buildings.
Yes.
So it is a thing here. Thank you, Paula. And I'm going to go over here to the person who traveled the furthest. And I'm not going to count me because I was a speaker, but this is the person who traveled the furthest as an attendee. And this is
Jane Selkie.
Hey, Jane. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Adrienne.
This is kind of your fault that I'm here. I got a wonderful message from Jane saying, hey, you want to go to Skepticamp with me in LA? And we had such a fun time at the Monterey County Skepticamp together that I thought, what a great opportunity to hang out with my lady friends again and a lot of other friends too. So Jane, did you have a good time?
I had a wonderful time.
Favorite moment?
I'd like to expand on something I think Wendy said. I really enjoy seeing people, getting together with people, old friends and new friends. I really find the skeptics community to be very welcoming and warm. And there's always, it's good to get together with people that I've known before, get to know them a little bit better, and then also get introduced to new people that I've never met before. It's good to get together in person and meet people face to face and interact with them. And I find those moments very fun and interactive and educational, and I wouldn't miss those.
Well said. And last but not least, our fearless leader, the woman who is behind it all, because you're trying to get Skepticamps going.
We're starting with the United States, but I'm happy to get Skepticamps going everywhere. I know Australia has one that they do every year. They do a great job, but we really want to get people back meeting in person again, because otherwise there's nothing like the connection. I mean, here we are sitting, I don't know, how many of us are there? 20 women here in this room right now?
With the laughter, it sounds like it.
Yeah, we rented a house and we've just been hanging out nonstop. My voice is almost gone. It's been a blast. We did allow men to attend. We did have male speakers. They were great speakers. There was great, but all the organizing and almost all of the hanging out has been female, and it's been so much fun. And we really got to get these done throughout the country. Skepticamp is where you start, because that's how you grow the community. And we cannot be sitting around, you guys, waiting for legislature to come and take on misinformation. We can't wait for them to fix the problems of the world. We've got to start small, and that means starting grassroots. And when you start grassroots, we're talking Skepticamp. So be in contact. Susan Gerbic at gmail.com. Please reach out.
Susan, do you have a favorite moment?
The favorite moment was just seeing this come together quickly by people who had not necessarily done it before. They had a few years ago with confidence and eloquence and way too much food. And it was so fun being with people. There was not a bad talk in the bunch. Where are the videos going to be? Because we recorded this and we're hoping to be able to release these so that you all listening now who didn't show up, we want the videos out somewhere so that they can be seen, because they were all excellent. Where are we putting these videos?
I think would be to distribute wherever we can, but I would probably go with Susan's About Time project.
And I'm also going to put it on my YouTube channel.
And that's Heather?
The Heather Henderson YouTube channel, because I have a playlist of skepticism.
Once we have the videos edited and they're uploaded someplace, I will be putting links to them on the skepticampla.com website, which will be our website for future Skepticamp.
I would say...
Who are you?
Oh, sorry. Deborah Warcken. I'm also in Monterey County Skeptics and Guerrilla Skeptics and About Time Project. And I would just say I basically agree with everyone, what they said. I did find that Tori Christman's talk was amazing. I was kind of aware of what was happening with the Scientology people, but here... from the horse's mouth was kind of eye-opening.
Mm-hmm. So it was incredible.
And it's right. She's funny. It's a sad story, but it's a triumphant story. And yeah, everyone should go and look at it, listen to it. So.
Thank you. Great. My favorite moment yesterday, well, there's so many. It was such a good day, but I would say my favorite moment was having Ross Blotcher there emceeing. Yeah. He was amazing. He's so gracious. And not only that, but my favorite moment today was seeing his rendition of his spirit photograph of Roy Orbison behind him as a spirit with his hand on his shoulder that emulated the spirit photography that I showed in my talk yesterday with Abraham Lincoln behind Mary Todd Lincoln and others who had recreated that particular famous photo. So that was probably a highlight today when Ross did that. And the reason it's Roy Orbison he chose was because one of the types of claims of the paranormal is that little white dots on photos that are called orbs are said to be spirits of the dead. Isn't it clever? It's brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant because
many depths of clever.
Many depths of clever that were so the orbs, Roy Orbison. Thank you, ladies, all of you.
Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Abhijit and I host the Rationable podcast on BeRationable.com. Every couple of weeks, I science the hell out of alternative medicines, health and nutrition fads, social media forwards, science news, and lots more. Of course, you can find all of my articles, podcast episodes, and lots more on www.berationable.com. See you there, and until then, always be rationable.
And now, a reading from the Book of Tim with Tim Mendham. Tim Mendham here at the pub. Hello.
Hello.
From the Book of Tim.
That's right, that's me.
The cassette of Tim.
The cassette tape of Tim, yes, the high-tech version.
We've moved up in the world.
We have.
Tim, we have some possibly some exciting news about the upcoming Australian Skeptics National Convention in November.
Yes, we do. We have Alanta Colley, who's a noted comedian.
Yes.
Comedian. And, of course, also she's a health worker and has worked in sort of various third world countries and helping out on various sort of facilities there. So she's widely travelled, and therefore her comedy is coloured with her health experiences.
And she will make an excellent MC. I sent my reporter Michelle Bickersmar and her sister Karen to see her show just the other week, and they loved it. And I've spoken to her. I did an interview with her a couple of weeks ago, and I've spoken to her online. And I think she'll be a great MC. Can't wait.
Excellent. And she's looking forward to it as well. We've been in touch with her. So she's coming up from Melbourne, so that'd be great to see her. And she'll be giving a presentation and being MC, which will be very lively, I think.
Yeah.
Because we've also got Dr. Carl.
Dr. Carl, of course.
Who will be there. Dr. Carl will
always a favourite.
Always a favourite. We'll be giving a presentation and a keynote address, we hope. Actually.
Yeah.
Being fine-tuned, isn't it?
Well, fine-tuning. It's early days. But also I'm delighted to know that Ben Radford will be here.
Ben Radford.
He's one of the best in the business. What he doesn't know is not worth not knowing.
What he doesn't know about Chupacabra, no one really cares about anyway. Yeah. So, I mean, Chupacabra, front of mind.
Yeah.
If you want to talk to Ben about Chupacabra, he'll...
And clowns, says Lara.
And clowns, says Lara.
Yes, the evil clowns. He did a big thing about that a couple of years ago.
He did a big thing about evil clowns?
Evil clowns.
Okay, well, that's very exciting.
It is, yeah.
Yes. He also did a big thing about politics in America, actually, about the politicisation of the whole scene. I don't know. Forgotten about it. It's been a while.
He's been deputy editor now of the Skeptical Inquirer for about a quarter of a century.
He also did an investigation of balancing eggs on a post at the equator.
Did he?
Yes, which was sort of pretty high tech. That one, they actually had a post. There actually was a post on this walk they took people on, and they showed you could balance an egg on the sharp end on this post, and you couldn't do that anywhere else in the world. So he went 50 metres away and did it again, and then he went another kilometre away.
Yeah, typical party pooper skeptic.
What a skeptic.
They
really just annoy everybody, don't they? Just ruin all the fun.
Tim, how can people find out more about our upcoming convention? There's lots of time for people to get their travel arrangements and so on and get their tickets.
Okay, the convention is on November 23 to 24 in Sydney at UTS. And they're looking after us well there. We've got a very nice theatre there. We'll be having a function here on the Friday.
Right in this very room.
Actually. Yeah, on the Friday night preceding, which is the 22nd, I believe.
Yep.
Normally comes before the 23rd.
Well, this year I think it is.
By tradition.
This year, yeah.
Okay, this year it's coming. And we'll have fun and games here, and Richard will be here as well. So hopefully you'll be here.
Hopefully you'll be here. If I am, I'll let you know, and I will be bending spoons like they're going out of business.
Right.
I looked in my spoon drawer today. I must have about 300 spoons. This is not good. Lara's lost the plot over there.
They're all bent. He just thinks about it. They just bend, you know. He walks past the drawer and he hears it clunk, 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 clunk.
In a couple of weeks, or when? Okay, early next month, the 4th of May, I'll be in Calgary, Canada, bending spoons up there. May the 4th be with you. At We Can Reason conference, I'll be bending some spoons there.
Okay, Richard, you go nowhere without bending spoons.
No, well, I turn up and they just bend. What can I say?
He goes for comfort breaks and he bends spoons, honestly. It's rather sad, actually.
How do you know?
Cameras. But also, who else we got? Oh, we got the young skeptics, I should add, for the Skepticon thing, actually, which is a great thing. We are long-time sponsors of the Science Teachers Association in New South Wales.
We are, for many years.
Many years, actually, and in New South Wales and Victoria. And so we've had some conversations, so we might as well actually get them on board at the Skeptics Convention. So we're going to have a few of their award-winning from their Science Teachers Awards that they give to students.
Fantastic.
Infant school, primary school kids, whatever, high school kids. And we'll be grabbing a selection of them to give presentations in front of a skeptical audience. Probably with all the doodads and whatnots, all the puppy PowerPoints.
You say a skeptical audience. There'll be a very happy audience.
Oh,
audience.
A audience of skeptics.
Yes.
And they're very appreciative of this. And this might be a real horror for the kids to stand up in front of an audience and give an actual presentation. Okay, now Lara just tells us, Lara's a physics teacher.
She's our audience right now in
or
the
a physical
pub. She's
teacher.
Watching us, yes.
Yes, and she says they will do it with alacrity or some other sauce.
Can I get one of those at the bar? Can I get one of those at the bar?
Yeah.
Alacrity?
I'd like alacrity on my steak, please. Yes, so you reckon they'll be very good. Hopefully we're going to get an age range, right? Yeah,
But we'll be happy with whoever.
We'll be happy
to be
with
honest.
whomever we get, yes.
Yes. Excellent.
As long as they have alacrity.
Tim, I look forward to more cassette tapes of Tim.
Absolutely.
And then in a couple of years it'll be the DVD of Tim.
Keep bending the tape.
You bend the tape.
DVD.
No.
8-track.
8-track. The 8-track of Tim. We've gone from the book to the cassette tape. It'll be the 8-track soon.
ただいま聞いていただいているポッドキャストはオーストラリアから The Skeptic Zone という科学と論理のポッドキャストです。英語は世界中で数ある言葉の一つですが、このポッドキャストはいろいろな国の言葉で紹介します。www.skepticzone.tv を調べてホームページの下までにスクロールすると折り紙のピガサスという翼のある豚を工夫したリチャード・ソーンダスのオリジナルの折り紙のポスターをダウンロードをすることができます。
Hello, everyone. This is Adrienne Hill from Skookum Studios in Calgary, Canada, to read the highlights from the Australian Skeptics Newsletter. This is newsletter number 195. But don't forget, you can subscribe to this newsletter and get it delivered to your inbox every other week, complete with links to all the stories mentioned. Just go to skeptics.com.au to sign up. But now, let's see what Tim Mendham has for us this time. Hi all, says Tim. A new Skeptics in the Pub group in Armidale, New South Wales is going full tilt on promotion of their first function in a couple of weeks. Local media and What's On sites, community email groups, posters up all over town, quote, including the unisex toilet of the best cafe in town, end quote. Could be some worthwhile lessons here on promoting skepticism to the broader community in a smaller community. We'll keep you informed on how it goes. Meanwhile, read on, Tim. Okay, Tim, I'll do just that. Skepticon 2024, Sydney, November 23rd through 24th. Speaker list growing. We are excited that Dr. Carl Kruzelnicki, Australia's foremost science popularizer, will be presenting at this year's Australian Skeptics Annual National Convention. He will be joined by Alanta Colley, science communicator, public health practitioner, and comedian, who will be the MC for the convention, as well as giving her own session on science and pseudoscience. Skepticon 2024 will run from November 23rd through 24th at the Guthrie Theatre, University of Technology, Sydney, with a welcome function at the Occidental Hotel in York Street, Wynyard, on the evening of November 22nd, the Friday preceding the convention. More speakers will be announced soon. Tickets will be available in July. New Skeptics Group, Armidale, New South Wales, April 24th.
A new Skeptics in the Pub group has been formed in the New England area of New South Wales. Meetings will be held generally on the fourth Wednesday of the month at the Wicklow Hotel on the corner of Marsh and Damaresque Streets, Armadale. The first meeting will kick off on the evening of Wednesday, April 24th, with a presentation by UNE Sociology Professor Alan Scott on, quote, "The Strong Man Throughout History, Fascism, and the Cult of Genius," end quote. And Tim Mendham will be there to cut the ribbon. Psychics predict how Ukraine war will end. Except they don't. Just a lot of vague statements, as usual. Still, this article is as much about the popularity of such practitioners in a country that already has enough problems. And we're not sure how seriously to take psychics doing card readings in their velour dressing gown. Oh my. The March 2024 issue of The Skeptic is out in digital and hard copy. I just got mine. It looks at different approaches to coping with science and pseudoscience, teaching students the positives and negatives of media coverage and understanding that famous razor. There is also an in-depth look at the Bermuda Triangle, the, quote, mystery that refuses to die, end quote, despite years of detailed investigation and debunking. There is even a report by Richard Saunders, host of this podcast, about the fad of power bands of some years ago, and the acid-alkali dilemma, Skepticon 2023 in review, and a lot more. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time to do so. You can sign up for a hard copy or digital edition, or both, since the digital is offered free to those who take up the hard copy version. New subscriptions start with the next issue, but you can also order a copy of the most recent one as a treat. Contact the editor if you're not sure if your existing subscription needs renewing. In fact, you can drop Tim a line anytime. Just contact him at editor@skeptics.com.au. Items of interest. Pet psychic wait lists are growing. And guess where they're growing? No! We dare you to finish this Canadian video with all your hair intact. I know, Canadian, I'm sorry. We watched it for you so you don't have to. Now take a look at 2 minutes 30 seconds, where the psychic talks about listening to her cats converse with, try and guess, try and be psychic, her cats converse with a spider. Or, at 4 minutes 50 seconds, she's talking to a tree. Then again, there must be a living in it, charging 200 Canadian dollars an hour at the psychic's office, which is a witchcraft shop, or $500 Canadian for a house call, or a park call if you're talking with a tree. Luckily, finally, at 5 minutes, we have our friend and skeptic, Kenny Biddle, making his, 1 minute contribution of rationality. Oh, but he gets to go on again at 5 minutes 10 seconds for 50 seconds. But he's half wrong, according to the psychic, who is, quote, not here to debunk the skeptics, end quote. And I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. And it seems it's true that strange things do happen in Canada. Psychic reading during a solar eclipse. And I get to go, again. This is another inanity fest. This video explains how, quote, the solar eclipse amplifies the power of psychic readings, making them more accurate, end quote. Too bad that the eclipse only lasts a few minutes and that the majority of the world didn't even get a look in, with the most recent one, 3 minutes and 53 seconds of absolute eye-watering gobbledygook. The shroud again. Quote, new investigation points to authenticity of Shroud of Turin, end quote, says producer of The Shroud Face-to-Face, a new film, but with nothing particularly new in the evidence department. You can watch the film online for a pay-per-view or a shorter version for pay less per view. Rainfall might fuel ghostly encounters. It's a new one. Apparently, ghost hunters and paranormal enthusiasts have noted a correlation between water and ghostly encounters. Theories suggest that bodies of water, and especially flowing water like rivers and streams, may act as conductors for spiritual energy, potentially making certain locations more prone to hauntings. UK Bigfoot scares fishermen. Apparently, you can find big feet everywhere, even in Manchester, UK. But not everyone is taking it seriously. One commenter on this video is more worried about the mold on the wall behind the expert's head. This is a 7-minute, 20-second video. Silly story of the week just got sillier. Who you gonna call? She's at it again. The inveterate singer who married, divorced, and now gets professional support from a ghost for her paranormal investigation business, see the previous newsletter, is urging Rishi Sunak and the UK government to fund Ghostbusters emergency service. Do you dial 666? We can just hear the alarm now. Woo, 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 woo. Well, that's everything. So to finish, I wanted to expand upon the bit I read about previously on the pet psychic business in Canada. In the video, after the bit featuring Kenny Biddle, one of the pet psychics, Meg Vickle, responds to the interviewers asking how she feels about Kenny's stance that she really can't talk to the animals. As I said before, quote, I'm not here to debunk skeptics, end quote. But she goes on to say, quote, I have far too much work on my plate to go around. And the reason I keep doing it is because people keep coming, end quote. And I think that is very telling. She does it because people keep coming and paying her. Lastly, I'm going to share my adult kids' thoughts that they gave me after I shared this video with them. Emily, oh lordy, what's next? Psychics for my gut microbes? Sarah, maybe my lab can hire her to confer with our cell culture dishes. Might save some time. And finally, since the psychics, according to the video, operate on reading energy, Graham, can she read my computer's mind and tell me why my website isn't working? Until next time, this is Adrienne Hill.
This is Susan Gerbic from Psychics Explained. That's the YouTube channel where we discuss and analyze in great depth all those people who say that they can speak to the dead, all those readings, how they look like they're actually communicating with people. Why do people fall for this? There's a reason. It's much more complicated than you would think. Come to my channel, watch our videos. We would love to have you become part of our conversation. Just visit us on YouTube at Psychics Explained or Psychic Sex Planed on YouTube.
Now it's time once once again to go back to those archives at Trove and other places. This week we are looking once more into the pages of the Sydney Morning Herald via the wonderful resources of the State Library of New South Wales in Sydney. All those thousands upon thousands of meters of microfilm. Yes, this is the part of the show where we look through archived or digitised newspapers, magazines and so on to discover what we can learn from history when it comes to subjects of interest to skeptics, the paranormal, the supernatural, alternative medicine, and we're going to start off this week with creationism. Now, what ties all the items today, in today's segment, is they all relate somehow to the Australian Skeptics. And our first reference comes from the year 1984, on the 5th of July. And this involves a character you've heard about on the Skeptic Zone, of course, Dick Smith, one of the founding patrons of Australian Skeptics. And the headline is, "Creationists Try to Convert Dick Smith to the Biblical Viewpoint." And we have a photograph of Dick Smith, presumably in his office at the time, and the caption reads, "Mr. Smith, ... quote, I would be interested in hearing from any scientist," end quote. And this is a story by Greg Roberts. Dick Smith, the Sydney electronics millionaire, is not happy about being embroiled in the continuing controversy over the teaching of creationism in Queensland schools. Now, I'll just stop here to say this may be worth a segment by itself one day soon on the Skeptic Zone, the battles the Australian skeptics had with creationists many years ago now, especially in the state of Queensland, which has been in the past referred to as the Deep North. We read on. As a founder of the Australian Skeptics, he has been the brunt of efforts by creationist enthusiasts to convert him to the view that all life on the planet was created in 6 days, the Old Testament version of the origin of life. The Creation Scientist Foundation, which preaches the biblical view, recently sent him 8 one-hour tapes, oh the poor man, explaining why the theory of evolution should be disregarded. "I'm not really sure what I should do with them," Mr. Smith said. The Darwinian theory of evolution, which has been the backbone of scientific thinking for over 100 years, teaches us that all life evolved from a common origin, and that we constantly change as our environment changes. The present controversy began when the Sydney Morning Herald recently reported that creationism was being taught to science students in Queensland schools alongside evolution. The Australian Skeptics is spearheading a campaign to draw attention to the Queensland situation. Mr. Smith said, however, "I have no definite personal opinions on creationism, as I have not had the time available to acquaint myself with all the arguments, both rational and irrational. I would be interested in hearing from any scientist whose training is in biology or a related field who believes in creationism from purely a rational and scientific reason and not a religious one." According to Mr. Smith, he started the Skeptics primarily because he was concerned about the, quote, "large sums of money," end quote, being expended by farmers on water divining, where a two-pronged device is supposed to locate underground water. Despite a $100,000 reward, and that reward is still going, he says nobody has been able to prove that it actually works, but faith in the device remains strong. And if you're tempted to think that creationism is a thing of the past, well, it largely is here in Australia. It's certainly not the menace it used to be. And as for divining, well, not so long ago, on my regular exercise walk, I was passing a sporting oval, and there was one of the workers with divining rods, presumably looking for underground pipes or something. And now in the Sydney Morning Herald, in 1987, on the 11th of February, $1,000 prize, it's hard to believe, by Bob Beale, science reporter. Last year must have been a bad one for Australia's motley mob of psychics, spoonbenders, yowie chasers, ghost hunters and UFO spotters. It was even worse for the nation's investigative journalists if the Australian skeptics attempt to lure them into checking out the weird and wonderful world of the paranormal is any guide. The skeptics offered a $1,000 prize for the best skeptical report on the field appearing in print or electronic media, but no one entered. The group's national president, Mr. Barry Williams, says the deadline for entries has now been extended.
I reckon the 1st of April would be a reasonable date, don't you?
He said.
The year before, we had the flying rabbit, the psychic dentist, and assorted hauntings. Last year, we had a woman teaching people how to bend spoons, and psychic prospecting for gold, but there was no big UFO flaps.
On a more positive note, the skeptics have had a run of claims for their standing prize of $20,000 for anyone who can demonstrate paranormal abilities under controlled conditions. The latest claimants include several water diviners, a, quote, super psychic, end quote, who says he will reveal the name of a murderer at a séance later this month, and a man who thought affidavits from witnesses would be enough to secure him the money.
We even had a tea leaf reader, but we couldn't figure out any way of testing her,
Mr. Williams said. That's an interesting one. 1987. Sadly, Barry Williams died some years ago. I wonder what that tea leaf reader was all about. And now let's travel to the year 1989 on the 17th of March. Again in the Sydney Morning Herald. What do we have here? Science of Luck is Crystal Clear by Bob Beale, science writer. And we have a photograph here at the top of the report of a man behind a mirrored desktop, seemingly writing something. It's a bit unclear, with what appears to be a some sort of headdress, a thin cord wrapped around his forehead, possibly with a crystal in it, not sure, and an exotic-looking necklace with a I can't quite make it out what it is hanging from around his neck. It possibly looks like it's Eastern writing or something. And the caption reads, Mark Gunner, numerologists. Quote, I don't predict, I just use patterns and intuition. End quote. Numerology is a science, says Mark Gunner, but not a pure one. Despite 33 years as a numerologist, he still needs to call on intuition. Lately, Mr. Gunner has found that a custom-made headband featuring a forehead crystal helps him concentrate while discerning the number patterns he says can be valuable guides to life. If you've subscribed recently to a Golden Lucky Numbers scheme, Mr. Gunner is the man who's been picking your lucky, favourable lotto numbers for you.
I don't predict,
he said yesterday.
I just use patterns and intuition. I have no special gift.
The scheme, Mr. Gunner says, took many weeks to work out before enchanted lotto numbers were first offered for sale in a series of magazine and newspaper advertisements in late 1987. Mr. Gunner says he was paid a modest wage as consultant to a Sydney company, Light Look Proprietary Limited, which organised the scheme. Doubts about the offer prompted Harry Edwards, National Secretary of the Australian Skeptics, to use his own brand of numerology to investigate. Subscribing in various names, he recorded the registration numbers on the address labels he received. The numbers rose dramatically from 6,023 in September 1987 to 155,061 by October 1988. If the sequences showed the numbers of subscribers, as Mr. Edwards believes he has confirmed, Lightlook made a tidy profit. For $2, subscribers got an enchanted number based on their birth date. They were then invited to buy others, enough to enter lotto, for fees of up to $75. From these figures, Mr. Edwards calculates that the scheme may have made a net profit of more than $1 million. He used his numbers to bet on Lotto, but his best result was 3 correct numbers out of 97 entries. A woman answering the telephone at Lightlook yesterday, who said she was a principal of the company but would give only her first name, Jeunesse, said that no subscribers had complained about the system, which has a money-back guarantee, and that the company had many files of letters from prize-winning subscribers. Well, there you are. I bet you didn't know you could win Lotto by numerology and intuition. And the story seems to have a follow-up years later. So that last story was from the year 1989, and now we go to 1998. So almost a decade later. Enchanted Lotto scheme is defended. And again, this is a story by Bob Beale from the 30th of March 1998. Criticism by the Australian Skeptics organisation of a scheme involving the sale of enchanted lotto numbers picked through numerology and astrology has been described as false and inaccurate by the scheme's promoter. The Skeptics National Secretary, Mr. Harry Edwards, said he had evidence that the scheme could have made a profit of more than $1 million during the past 18 months. Mr. Edwards criticised the scheme's use of numerology and astrology to select allegedly favourable numbers, saying neither had any scientific basis. He said the organisers, by asking for a small percentage of any subscribers winning, had in effect created an involuntary betting syndicate from which they stood to win a substantial commission regardless of individual subscribers' wins or losses. But in an unsigned statement, the Sydney company Lightlook Proprietary Limited said that Mr. Edwards' assumptions about the scheme's number of subscribers, advertising budget and income were false and presented an inaccurate portrayal of it. Every refund request has been honoured as promptly as possible, and customers' names were removed from the mailing list immediately upon request, it said. Quote, "We are not there to defend astrology or numerology. We prefer to leave to each individual the right to decide whether they play a role in his or her system of belief or not," end quote, the statement said. And now finally we flip back a little bit to the year 1994 on the 14th of November, once again in the pages of the Sydney Morning Herald. The Australian psychics should have seen it coming, but apparently they were unaware that they have just been the victims of a sting operation by the Australian Skeptics. Herald science writer Lee Dayton gave us the scam on the sting. In an investigation code-named Operation Termite. Are you listening, Susan Gerbic? In the past, Australian Skeptics had funny names for their operations too, not involving food. If this was the Susan Gerbic operation in Australia, it would be called Operation Vegemite Scroll or something like that. Maybe Operation Iced Vovo. In an investigation code-named Operation Termite, Australian Skeptics Inc. planted a mole in the Australian Psychics Association. Harry Edwards, the National Secretary of the Skeptics, says Operation Termite was devised to demonstrate that the APA, Australian Psychics Association, would accept just anyone as a psychic. He claims the operation shows that, quote, persons lacking any qualifications, psychic or otherwise, end quote, can easily be accredited to the APA and can, therefore, be recommended to the public nationwide as psychic consultants through the organization's referral service. Simon Turnbull. And breaking in here to say, yes, I knew Simon. I would see him over the years. We worked together, sort of, on a TV show many years ago. He died, I guess over 10 years ago now. And there's a story where I bent a spoon for him, and he found that very difficult to reconcile that I could bend a spoon like Uri Geller, when he knows for a fact or he knew for a fact that Uri Geller used psychic magic powers. Simon Turnbull, the president of the APA, strongly denies the charges. He says candidate psychics must provide 3 letters of recommendation from satisfied customers to describe their psychic training and pay a fee of $195 a year. The APA is a Sydney-based national organisation with 950 members, 175 of whom are professional psychics. Goodness me. Professional psychics, says Turnbull, used heightened intuition to access situations presented by clients.
All psychics are clairvoyant,
he claims, adding that psychics use tools such as astrology, tarot cards, palmistry and numerology to assist them in readings. According to Turnbull, the APA thoroughly checks out all applicants.
We particularly want to know that they aren't sent by the skeptics.
Really? Maybe they just should have used psychic power to determine that. Not so, says Edwards. He says a skeptic spy, codenamed Kevin, supplied the APA with glowing testimonials, a false history, and a check. Edwards claims the check was cashed and the membership issued. No questions asked. A report of Operation Termite will appear this month in The Skeptic magazine. Now Turnbull is keen to weed out the skeptic mole. When first contacted by the Herald, he said he suspected one APA member who had provoked several complaints from the public and fellow psychics.
He's on his way out,
he noted. But Kevin never worked as a psychic, so the suspect could not be him, Edwards responds. Turnbull later told the Herald that he had gone back through the records and turned up a more likely mole suspect.
He's no longer on our books,
said Turnbull, adding that the APA intends to require statutory declarations from future applicants, but the skeptics are still watching. Well, there you go. And you can read about Operation Termite in the pages of the Skeptic magazine, the journal from Australian Skeptics. In fact, if you go to skeptics.com.au and use the search facility there, and you type in Operation Termite, that will bring you to the reference, and you can read about that story for yourself. Or maybe at some stage it will appear in the Book of Tim. But you can read about termites, skeptics, psychics, and all sorts of other things when you visit online resources or your local library, but in particular, of course, if you visit Trove and type in your search, because when you do that, you never know what you might find. Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Coming up on next week's show, I speak to one of the longtime skeptics, Dr. Steve Roberts, about the recent UFO flap. Oh, those UFOs just won't go away. Tim Mendham returns with another book of Tim. Kate and Ali, otherwise known as Kat and Adrienne, will talk about herbs or herbs. And in the Trove segment, something you don't hear much about anymore, crop circles. Thank you to those people who contribute to the Skeptic Zone at Patreon or PayPal at skepticzone.tv. Your support means everything. It means the show can keep going. But for this week, this is Richard Saunders signing off from the Skeptic Zone Studios, Sydney, Australia.
You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Please visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for episodes and show notes with links going back to 2008. You can follow the Skeptic Zone on Facebook, X, TikTok and YouTube by clicking the links at our homepage, together with links to support the show financially via Patreon or PayPal. The Skeptic Zone is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed by our guests are not necessarily those of the Skeptic Zone podcast or any other skeptical organisation.
I've got multiple random generators.
Well, let's do it.
Random number generator, dice. Look, lottery. We can win the lottery.
We can. I'm at Skeptics in the Pub with Lara Benham. Hello, Lara.
Hi, Richard.
And we are going to play the dice game, but we've neglected to bring a die. But you're come to the rescue.
Yeah, got a random number generator app on my phone that I use at school, so we can choose different-sided dice. What would you like?
Well, why don't we do something a bit different? We'll choose a different-sided die for each roll. We'll do 4 rolls. I'm just going to use the big table here, the tablecloth.
I think we can write on the tables.
We can actually write on the table.
I think we're meant to write on the tables.
Yeah, it's paper. It's paper. All right, the first one will be traditional.
6-sided die.
And we'll do a 6. The next one will be, what's the next option?
8.
8. The next one?
10.
10 and
12.
12, excellent. So I'll put R and L. So I'm going to say for the first roll, for the 6-sided, I'm going to put 3.
5.
5. All right, well, let's roll the 6 one first. You said 5, I said 3, and it is?
A 3. Well done, Richard.
All right, 1 to me.
Drinks are on you.
Drinks are on me. Okay, we have an 8-sided die now, and I'm going to choose 1.
7.
All right. I'm rolling.
1.
No.
I'm not even joking. Look.
It is. Hey, I like this. Okay.
Unbelievable.
The 10-sided, I'm going to choose 9.
2.
2, okay.
3.
3.
I was close.
Okay. And for the supplementary or the extra roll, it's a 12-sided die.
12-sided.
I'm going to choose 11.
I'm going to go 10.
10.
And it is number 2.
2.
Oh, see, I got that last time. I just got them confused.
You almost got it.
Yes.
But I did get 2 right.
You did. 50%. Well done. Drinks and dinner is on you then.
Cheers.